The Last Lighthouse Keeper. Marcus Cole stood at the top of the Starpoint Lighthouse, his weathered hands gripping the railing as he stared out at the storm-tossed Pacific. At 42, he was possibly the last lighthouse keeper on Earth, maintaining one of the few remaining manual beacons on the Oregon coast. The automated systems had failed 6 months ago, and in these troubled times, no one had bothered to fix them. Below, his 8-year-old daughter Luna played with her virtual school tablet, the soft blue glow illuminating her face in the growing darkness. The world had changed dramatically since the global economic collapse 3 years ago. Cities had gone dark, technology had become unreliable, and many coastal communities had been abandoned. But Marcus kept the light burning, night after night, powered by old solar cells and his own stubborn determination. He couldn't leave, not after promising his late wife Maria that he would keep Luna safe in the only home she'd ever known. "Dad." Luna's voice echoed up the spiral staircase. "The weather satellite is showing something weird." Marcus descended the worn steps, his joints protesting after another long day of maintenance. Luna sat cross-legged on their living room floor, her dark curls falling across her face as she pointed at the tablet's screen. The weather radar showed a massive atmospheric disturbance approaching the coast, but its pattern was like nothing Marcus had ever seen. "That's not a normal storm," he muttered, squinting at the swirling vortex. The pressure gauge on the wall was dropping rapidly, and the wind had taken on an odd, whistling tone. Luna pressed closer to him, her small hand finding his. "I'm scared, Dad. This feels different." Before Marcus could respond, all their electronics died simultaneously. The backup generators kicked in with a whine, keeping the beacon lit, but everything else went dark. Through the windows, Marcus watched in disbelief as a massive shape emerged from the clouds, a vessel of some kind, but unlike any aircraft he'd ever seen. It was organic in appearance, with sweeping curves that seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it. Inside the lighthouse, Marcus ordered, pushing Luna toward the heavy steel door. "Now." They barely made it inside when a brilliant purple beam shot down from the ship, sweeping across the grounds. Marcus held Luna close as they huddled in the lighthouse's base, listening to the otherworldly hum that seemed to penetrate the very stones around them. Then silence. "Hello." A voice called from outside, feminine, melodious, but with an odd resonance that made the hair on Marcus's neck stand up. "Please, we mean no harm. We need help." Marcus hesitated, then peered through the thick glass window. Standing on their lawn was a tall, humanoid figure. She, if it was a she, had silvery skin that seemed to shimmer with its own inner light. Her eyes were large and completely golden, without pupils, and what looked like delicate fins extended from her temples and forearms. "Daddy, look." Luna whispered in excitement. "She's beautiful." The alien turned toward their window, those golden eyes seemed to pierce right through the glass. "Please," she called again. "I am Ambassador Lyra of the Celestial Concordat. We have traveled far seeking refuge. Our ship's core is failing, and your beacon, it's the only light we could find in this sector." Marcus felt Luna squirming in his arms. "Dad, we have to help them. Remember what Mom always said, a lighthouse never turns away those in need." Maria's words hit him like a physical force. She had been an emergency room doctor before the collapse, working until the very end to help others. What would she think of him now, cowering in fear from someone asking for aid? Taking a deep breath, Marcus opened the lighthouse door. Luna immediately darted out, ignoring his attempt to grab her. "Hi," she called, waving at the alien. "I'm Luna. Did you really come from the stars?" Ambassador Lyra knelt down to Luna's level, her movements graceful despite her obvious exhaustion. "Indeed I did, little one. My people are called the Lumini. We are refugees, fleeing from those who would enslave us. Your father's lighthouse saved us. We were running out of power, lost in your planet's atmosphere, when we saw its beam." Marcus stepped forward, protective instincts warring with his growing curiosity. "What exactly do you need from us?" Lyra stood, her height impressive, but somehow not threatening. Our ship's core runs on crystalline energy, similar to your solar power but more efficient. We need a safe place to land and repair, while we convert your solar array's output into compatible energy. It would take perhaps 3 of your Earth days. And then, Marcus asked, still wary. Then we continue our journey to the safe worlds beyond your solar system. But, Lyra hesitated, her golden eyes dimming slightly. There is more you should know. Those who follow us, the Shadowkin, they will come. We can offer you protection, take you and Luna with us, if you wish. This lighthouse will not be safe once they track us here. As if to emphasize her point, a distant boom echoed across the ocean. Marcus looked up to see strange lights flickering in the storm clouds above. Luna grabbed his hand, but instead of fear, her face showed determination. "Dad, we have to help them," she insisted. "And maybe this is our chance too, for something new. Mom would want us to be brave." Marcus looked at his daughter, seeing Maria's courage shining in her eyes. The lighthouse had been their refuge, their purpose after the world fell apart. But perhaps it had served its purpose, guiding them not to safety from earthly storms, but to a new destiny among the stars. 3 days, he said finally, turning to Lyra. "We'll help you repair your ship, and then we'll decide about going with you." Lyra's skin glowed brighter, her version of a smile. "Thank you, Marcus Cole. Your kindness will not be forgotten. Now, we must hurry. The storm above is not natural. The Shadowkin are already searching." As Marcus helped Luna gather their essential belongings, he caught one last glimpse of the lighthouse beam cutting through the darkness. For 8 years, it had been their anchor in a broken world. Now it had become a beacon of a different kind, guiding them toward an unexpected future among the stars. The question was, were they ready for what lay ahead? The shadows descend. The next morning brought an impossible sight to the lighthouse grounds. The Lumini ship hovered silently above the helipad, its pearlescent surface rippling like liquid moonlight. Marcus watched in amazement as several more Lumini emerged from the vessel, their silvery forms moving with fluid grace as they began setting up strange crystalline equipment around the lighthouse's solar array. Luna was everywhere at once, peppering the aliens with questions that Ambassador Lyra answered with infinite patience. "Why do your fins glow? How fast can your ship go? Can you teach me your language?" Marcus couldn't help but smile. It was the most animated he'd seen his daughter since Maria's passing. "Your daughter's curiosity is remarkable," Lyra observed, approaching Marcus as he worked to reroute power from their backup generators. "She reminds me of my own children before." Her golden eyes dimmed momentarily. "Before the Shadowkin?" Marcus asked quietly. Lyra nodded. "They were once like us, peaceful explorers, but power corrupted them. They discovered ways to harvest energy from living beings, turning them into biological batteries. When we refused to join them, they marked us for extinction." A distant rumble of thunder made them both look up. The strange storm still circled overhead, growing darker by the hour. Marcus had seen enough storms in his years as keeper to know this was something else entirely. "They're searching methodically," Lyra explained, her fins rippling with anxiety. "The storm is their probe cloud. It's only a matter of time before they detect our energy signature." Inside the lighthouse, Marcus found Luna teaching one of the younger Lumini, barely more than a child herself, how to play cat's cradle with string. The alien's luminescent fingers wove patterns that seemed to defy physics, making Luna giggle with delight. "Dad," Luna called out, "Stella can make the string glow. And she's teaching me about quantum mathematics." She proudly held up her tablet, now covered in equations that made Marcus's head spin. "Stella," he asked, raising an eyebrow. The young Lumini's skin flickered in what he was learning to recognize as embarrassment. "Luna said my real name was too difficult for human tongues. She gave me this name because she says I shine like a star." A sharp alarm from outside cut through the moment. Marcus rushed to the window to see several Lumini pointing at the sky. The storm clouds had taken on a sickly green tinge, and shapes were moving within them. Dark, angular vessels that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Shadowkin scouts, Lyra announced grimly, appearing beside him. We need to accelerate our repairs. Stella, gather the others. Begin the core transfer immediately. The next few hours were a blur of activity. Marcus helped where he could, though much of the Lumini technology was beyond his comprehension. Luna proved surprisingly useful, her young mind quickly grasping concepts that left him baffled. She worked alongside Stella, helping to align crystals and calibrate energy flows. As dusk approached, the Shadowkin ships drew closer, their presence like a physical weight pressing down on the lighthouse. Marcus had just finished helping install the last power converter when Lyra rushed up, her usual graceful movements sharp with urgency. They spotted us, she said tersely. We need to launch now, ready or not. Marcus, Luna, you must decide quickly. Will you come with us? Before Marcus could respond, a beam of sickly green energy lanced down from the clouds, striking the ocean less than a mile from the lighthouse. Where it touched, the water turned black and began to boil. What happens if we stay? Marcus asked, already knowing the answer. The Shadowkin don't leave witnesses, Lyra replied softly. And they'll want to know why you helped us. They have ways of extracting information. Luna grabbed Marcus's hand. Dad, we have to go. Mom would want us to be brave, remember? Looking at his daughter's determined face, Marcus made his decision. We'll need 10 minutes to grab our emergency bags and Mom's memory box. You have 5, Lyra said, her fins pulsing with urgency. Stella, help them pack. The rest of you, begin launch preparations. They rushed through the lighthouse, grabbing only what was essential. Luna insisted on taking her tablet and the family photo album. Marcus snatched Maria's old medical bag. She'd always said a doctor should be prepared for anything, even after the collapse made modern medicine nearly impossible. Another green beam struck closer, and the lighthouse shuddered. Through the windows, Marcus could see more Shadowkin ships descending, their black holes seeming to tear holes in reality itself. Time to go, Lyra called from outside. They sprinted for the Lumini ship, Luna clutching her backpack and Stella's hand. Just as they reached the vessel's entrance, a massive explosion rocked the lighthouse. Marcus turned to see the upper section of the tower engulfed in green flames that seemed to eat away at the very stone. The beacon, he whispered, watching his life's work begin to crumble. Luna tugged at his arm. Dad, we're the light now. We have to keep going. Inside the ship, everything was a blur of crystal and living metal. The Lumini moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for launch. Through view screens that seemed to float in mid-air, Marcus watched more Shadowkin vessels emerge from the storm. Everyone secure. Laura commanded from what appeared to be the bridge. Emergency quantum jump in 3, 2. The world outside turned inside out. Marcus felt Luna's hand squeeze his as reality seemed to fold in on itself. The lighthouse, the ocean, Earth itself, everything disappeared in a flash of prismatic light. When his vision cleared, they were among the stars, Earth a rapidly shrinking blue marble behind them. Luna pressed her face against a viewport in wonder, but Marcus noticed her other hand still hadn't left his. The Shadowkin will follow, Lyra announced, her tone grim. But we have a head start, and friends waiting in the Pleiades. If we're lucky, we can reach them before. An alarm cut through the ship, its crystalline tones somehow conveying more dread than any normal siren could. On the view screens, dozens of black shapes were emerging from Earth's orbit, their forms seeming to devour the starlight around them. The real chase was about to begin, shadows in the light. The lighthouse had never felt so crowded. After 5 days of housing the Lumini refugees, Marcus watched as Luna excitedly helped their alien guests convert the old storage rooms into makeshift living quarters. Ambassador Lyra's crew of 12 had brought with them strange technologies that transformed the lighthouse's interior, their crystalline power sources bathing the stone walls in soft, multicolored light. But it was the changes in Luna that amazed Marcus most. Under Lyra's guidance, his daughter had begun learning the basics of Lumini's science, her tablet now displaying impossible equations and star charts that would have baffled most adult humans. The alien language came naturally to her, its musical tones filling the lighthouse with an otherworldly symphony. "Your daughter has a remarkable mind," Lyra observed, joining Marcus on the observation deck. "She grasps concepts that took our children years to master." Marcus smiled despite his growing unease. "She gets that from her mother. Maria was brilliant, could diagnose complex medical conditions just by looking at a patient." His smile faded as he studied the horizon. "But I'm worried, Lyra. Those lights we've been seeing at night, they're getting closer, aren't they?" Lyra's golden eyes dimmed slightly. "Yes, the Shadowkin are methodical hunters. They're searching every coastal installation, looking for our energy signature." She hesitated. "Marcus, there's something I haven't told you about them." Before she could continue, Luna burst onto the deck, clutching her tablet. "Dad, Ambassador, look what I found." She thrust the device forward, showing a news report from a nearby town. The grainy footage showed dark, shadowy figures moving through streets at night, their forms seeming to shift and ripple like smoke. "They're already here," Lyra whispered, her fins flattening against her head in distress. "We've stayed too long." Marcus pulled Luna close. "What exactly are we dealing with, Lyra? What aren't you telling us?" The alien ambassador's skin pulsed with troubled colors. "The Shadowkin were once like us, Lumini who chose to embrace darkness instead of light. They discovered they could feed on the neural energy of other species, consuming their thoughts, memories, and emotions. They stripped whole worlds of consciousness, leaving only empty shells behind." Luna's grip on Marcus's hand tightened. "Is that why you're running? To protect your people's minds?" "Not just our people anymore," Lyra admitted. "The Shadowkin have developed a taste for human consciousness. Your species' capacity for emotion, for imagination, it's like a feast to them. They've been secretly harvesting isolated human communities for months. Those abandoned cities you told me about, they weren't all abandoned because of economic collapse." Marcus felt his blood run cold. The reports of ghost towns, of people found mindless and empty, it hadn't been depression or some new disease like the authorities claimed. "Why didn't you warn us earlier?" "Would you have believed me?" Lyra countered gently. "Besides, we hoped to repair our ship and leave before they tracked us here. But now," she gestured at the darkening sky, where strange shadows seemed to move against the clouds. Luna suddenly grabbed her tablet again, her fingers flying across the screen. "Look, if the Shadow can feed on neural energy, maybe we can use that against them. The lighthouse's new power system, it generates a field similar to brainwaves, right?" Lyra's eyes widened. "Yes, but, Luna, what are you thinking?" "We can overload it," Luna explained, her eyes shining with the same determination Marcus had often seen in Maria's. "Create a massive burst of energy that might overwhelm their ability to absorb it. Like giving someone trying to drink from a garden hose the whole ocean instead." Marcus watched in amazement as his 8-year-old daughter and the alien ambassador bent over the tablet, refining the plan. Luna's idea was dangerous, possibly suicidal, but it might be their only chance. The Shadowkin were coming, and they had nowhere left to run. As night fell, they put their plan into action. The other Lumini crew members positioned their crystalline technology around the lighthouse, creating a web of energy that hummed with increasing power. Marcus helped Luna modify the solar arrays, rerouting their output through Lyra's ship's core. "Once we start," Lyra warned, "we'll have only minutes before the system overloads. If this doesn't work..." "It'll work," Luna insisted. "The Shadowkin think they can just take whatever they want. But they don't understand human beings very well, do they? We're not just food. We fight back." Marcus hugged his daughter fiercely, seeing Maria's spirit blazing in her eyes. "That's right, sweetheart. We fight back." The first Shadowkin appeared just as the moon rose, their dark forms seeping out of the tree line like living ink. They moved with terrible grace, sliding across the lighthouse grounds in complete silence. Marcus counted at least 20, with more emerging every moment. "Ready?" Lyra asked, her hand hovering over the activation crystal. Marcus looked at Luna, who nodded firmly. "Ready." "For the light," Lyra whispered, and pressed the crystal. The lighthouse exploded with brilliance. Every window, every crystal, every solar panel released a tsunami of neural energy that lit up the night like a newborn star. The Shadowkin screamed, the first sound Marcus had heard them make, as their shadowy forms began to fracture and dissolve. But something was wrong. The energy wasn't dissipating as planned. The lighthouse itself began to vibrate, stones cracking as power beyond anything it was meant to contain coursed through its ancient walls. "It's too much," Lyra shouted over the rising whine of overloading systems. "The structure can't take it." Luna grabbed Marcus's arm. "Dad, look." She pointed at the Shadowkin. Their dissolving forms weren't disappearing. They were being pulled toward the lighthouse like smoke into a chimney. The energy web was actually trapping them, drawing them in. "Everyone into the ship," Lyra commanded. "The lighthouse is going to collapse." Marcus scooped up Luna and ran, following the Lumini into their vessel as the lighthouse, his home, his anchor for the past 8 years, began to break apart. Through the ship's viewscreen, they watched in awe as the structure imploded, taking with it every trace of the Shadowkin in a final, blinding flash of light. When the dust settled, only the lighthouse's base remained, smoking slightly in the cool night air. But above it, the stars shone more brightly than Marcus had ever seen them. "Did we do it?" Luna whispered. "Are they gone?" Lyra checked her instruments, her fins rippling with relief. "Yes, little one." That burst of energy didn't just destroy them, it sent a signal that should warn others of their kind away from this area. "You've helped protect not just us, but your whole coastline." Luna beamed, but then her face fell as she looked at the lighthouse ruins. "Our home." Marcus held her close. "Hey, remember what Mom always said? Home isn't a place, it's the people you love. And maybe," he glanced at Lyra, "maybe it's time for us to find a new home. Among the stars." The alien ambassador's skin glowed warmly. "We would be honored to have you join us, Marcus and Luna Cole. Your courage and creativity have earned you a place among our people." As Lyra's ship rose into the night sky, Luna pressed her face against the window, watching her world fall away. "Dad, do you think Mom would be proud of us?" Marcus smiled, tears in his eyes as he looked toward the endless expanse of space before them. "Yeah, sweetheart, I think she'd be very proud." The lighthouse was gone, but its last light had guided them to an extraordinary new beginning, one that would take them far beyond the shores of Earth into adventures they had never dreamed possible. Celestial bonds. The vastness of space stretched before the Lumini vessel as it glided through the star-studded darkness. 2 weeks had passed since their dramatic escape from Earth, and Luna Cole pressed her forehead against the ship's crystalline viewport, watching distant galaxies swirl by. The ship's faster-than-light drive created beautiful ripples in space-time, making the stars look like streams of liquid light. "Still stargazing, little scientist." Commander Lyra's melodious voice came from behind. Luna turned to see the Lumini leader's skin shimmer with affectionate colors. "I'm trying to map the constellations," Luna explained, holding up her tablet, now upgraded with Lumini technology. "They look so different out here. Everything's different." Indeed, life aboard the Lumini ship had been a constant stream of wonders and challenges. The vessel, which Luna learned was called a Star Weaver, housed not just Lyra's original crew, but several other refugee families. Marcus had quickly made himself useful, applying his mechanical skills to help maintain the ship's systems, while Luna threw herself into learning everything she could about their new alien companions. "Different isn't always bad," Marcus said, joining them at the viewport. His once weathered face had gained a healthier glow from the ship's artificial sunlight. Remember how you used to complain about having to dust the lighthouse windows? Luna giggled. Now I help calibrate force fields instead. Their laughter was interrupted by a sudden alarm. Red lights pulsed through the ship's organic corridors as Lyra's fins flattened against her head, a sign of distress Luna had learned to recognize. "Command center now," Lyra ordered, her usual gentle tone sharp with urgency. They rushed to the ship's brain, a circular chamber filled with floating holographic displays. Other Lumini crew members were already there, their skin colors shifting rapidly as they processed incoming data. Long-range sensors detected a distress signal. One of the operators reported, "It's coming from a human vessel." Luna's heart jumped. "Human, out here." Lyra manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up an image of a battered-looking spacecraft. It appears to be an early colonization attempt. According to our records, several human nations launched experimental ships before the economic collapse. This one must have made it further than they realized. "We have to help them," Luna insisted, but her father looked concerned. "Could it be a trap?" Marcus asked. "The Shadowkin were destroyed at the lighthouse," Lyra finished. "But you're right to be cautious. This far from Earth, anything is possible." She studied the readings more carefully. "The ship's design is primitive by our standards, but I'm detecting multiple life signs. They're in cryogenic suspension, but their systems are failing." Luna tugged at her father's sleeve. "Dad, remember what Mom always said about helping people in need? We can't just leave them." Marcus smiled softly, ruffling her hair. "Your mother would have been first in line to help." He turned to Lyra. "What's the plan?" The next few hours were a flurry of activity as the Starweaver carefully approached the drifting human vessel. Up close, it was even more damaged than they'd first thought. Micrometeorite impacts had scarred its hull, and its solar panels were barely functioning. "Life support is critical in 3 of the 4 cryo chambers," reported Talos, the Lumini's chief medical officer. His skin rippled with concerned purples and blues. "If we don't act quickly, we'll lose them." Luna watched in fascination as Lyra's crew extended a crystalline docking tube between the ships. The technology was beautiful, creating a seamless bridge that sparkled like diamonds in the starlight. "I'm going with the rescue team," Marcus announced, already pulling on one of the Lumini's environmental suits. The organic armor molded itself to his form, its crystalline faceplate offering a wider field of view than any human spacesuit. "Me too," Luna declared, but both Marcus and Lyra shook their heads. "Too dangerous, we thought," Marcus said firmly. "We don't know what we'll find over there." Luna was about to protest when a new alarm blared. Lyra's fins spread wide in alarm as she checked the sensors. Multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Energy signatures are, by the first light, no. The viewport filled with nightmare shapes, vessels that seemed to be made of living shadow, their hulls absorbing all light that touched them. Luna's blood ran cold as she recognized them from Earth. "Shadowkin warships," Lyra breathed. They must have detected the human vessel's power signature, all that neural energy in the cryo chambers. "But we destroyed them," Luna protested. "We destroyed one hunting party," Lyra corrected grimly. "These are from their main fleet. They must have been tracking this human ship for months." Marcus grabbed Luna's shoulders. "New plan. We take what crew we can from that ship and run." But Luna's mind was racing, remembering their victory at the lighthouse. "Wait, the cryo chambers. They're like batteries of neural energy, right? And the Shadowkin want to feed on them." Lyra's eyes widened as she followed Luna's thought process. "Yes, but, Luna, are you suggesting what I think you are?" Luna's fingers flew across her tablet, pulling up schematics of both ships. "If we can't save everyone in time, maybe we can use the chambers like we use the lighthouse. One big burst of neural energy, but this time, we channel it through the Starweaver's weapon systems," Lyra finished, her skin glowing with excitement. "Luna Cole, you are truly your mother's daughter." The next few minutes were a blur of desperate activity. While one team rushed to rescue as many cryo-frozen humans as possible, another worked to modify the failing ship's power systems. The Shadowkin vessels drew closer, their very presence seeming to dim the stars around them. Rescued 4 out of 12, Marcus reported grimly as he helped carry the last cryo chamber aboard. That's all we had time for. Luna hugged him quickly, then turned to Lyra. Ready? The Lumini commander nodded, her fins rigid with concentration. Shadowkin vessels in weapons range, beginning power transfer, now. The abandoned human ship began to glow, its remaining cryo chambers pulsing with brilliant light as their neural energy was redirected through the Starweaver's crystalline weapon arrays. The Shadowkin ships sensed the feast of consciousness being offered and moved closer, eager to feed. Now, Luna shouted. Lyra triggered the burst. The human ship exploded in a nova of pure neural energy, focused and amplified by Lumini crystals. The beam caught the lead Shadowkin vessel dead center, tearing through its dark hull like sunlight through fog. The chain reaction that followed was spectacular. Each destroyed ship's shadow matter detonated, taking its neighbors with it. When the light faded, the entire Shadowkin fleet was gone, leaving only scattered debris that seemed to evaporate like morning dew. You did it, Marcus whispered, hugging Luna tightly. You saved us all. We did it, Luna corrected, looking around at their Lumini friends. Together. Later, as the Starweaver's medical team began the delicate process of reviving the rescued humans, Luna sat with her father and Lyra in the observation dome, watching the stars wheel past. What do we tell them? She wondered aloud. About Earth, about everything that's happened. We tell them the truth, Marcus said firmly. That humanity isn't alone in the universe. That there are wonders and terrors out here, but also friends and allies. And that sometimes the greatest light can come from the darkest moments. Lyra's skin glowed softly as she added, and we tell them that the lighthouse keeper and his brilliant daughter helped save not just Earth, but perhaps the entire galaxy by remembering the most important human quality of all. What's that? Luna asked. Marcus smiled, thinking of Maria. Hope, sweetheart, hope, and the courage to help others even when you're scared. As if in response, the Starweaver's engines hummed a gentle harmony, carrying them deeper into the glittering mystery of space. Their journey was far from over, but with each light year, Luna felt less like a refugee and more like an explorer, carrying her mother's spirit and her father's strength into whatever adventures awaited among the stars. Echoes of humanity. The revival chamber hummed softly as its crystalline surface began to clear, revealing the face of a young woman within. Luna watched intently from behind the medical base safety field, her tablet recording every detail of the process. After 3 days of careful preparation, they were finally waking the first of the rescued cryo-sleepers. Neural patterns stable, Talos reported, his silvery skin rippling with concentration. Body temperature approaching normal human levels. She's ready. Dr. Sarah Chen opened her eyes to a world she couldn't have imagined when she entered cryosleep 5 years ago. Her first sight was Luna's eager face pressed against the safety field, followed by the distinctly alien features of Talos and his medical team. Am I dreaming? She whispered, her voice rough from years of disuse. Marcus stepped forward, offering a reassuring human presence. No, Dr. Chen, though I'll admit the reality might be stranger than any dream. Over the next few hours, they carefully explained the situation to Sarah. Earth's economic collapse, the arrival of the Lumini, the threat of the Shadowkin, and their dramatic rescue of her ship's survivors. As its xenobiologist, she absorbed the information with remarkable composure, though her hands shook slightly when they told her about the 8 cryo chambers they couldn't save. They were my colleagues, she explained, accepting a cup of something that tasted like mint tea from Lyra. Brilliant scientists, all of them. We were supposed to establish humanity's first deep space research station. What happened? Luna asked, unable to contain her curiosity any longer. Why did your ship end up so far off course? Sarah's eyes clouded with remembered fear. We encountered something, a dark mass that our instruments couldn't properly read. It damaged our navigation systems, sent us tumbling into space. We barely managed to activate the emergency cryo protocols before life support failed. She looked up sharply. You called them shadowkin. Laura's fins rippled with concern. Yes, they must have been tracking your ship ever since, waiting for the right moment to feed. Before Sarah could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the Star River. Luna recognized the pattern, proximity alerts. Something was approaching. Multiple contacts called one of the sensor operators. But these readings can't be right. They rushed to the command center, where holographic displays showed several massive objects emerging from faster-than-light travel. But unlike the organic curves of Lumini ships or the light-absorbing horror of Shadowkin vessels, these were clearly of human construction, enormous cylinders rotating slowly in space. Generation ships, Sarah breathed, her eyes wide. They were theoretical when we left Earth, self-contained habitats designed to support human life for centuries of space travel. But I never thought. We're being hailed, Lyra announced. The signal, it's in English. The holographic display flickered, and a face appeared, an elderly man with kind eyes and snow-white hair. Unknown vessel, this is Administrator James Wright of the Human Exodus Fleet. We detected your battle with the shadow entities and tracked your course. Are you really from Earth? Marcus stepped forward. Some of us are. I'm Marcus Cole, formerly of the Pacific Northwest Coalition. This is my daughter Luna, and we have some recently awakened cryo-sleepers aboard. Thank the stars, Wright's voice cracked with emotion. We've been searching for other survivors since we left Earth 3 years ago. When the shadows came, when we saw what they did to the coastal cities, we gathered everyone we could. 13 ships, over 100,000 souls. Luna grabbed her father's hand, overwhelmed by the revelation. They weren't alone. Humanity hadn't just survived, it had found a way to save itself. Administrator, Lyra joined the conversation, her presence causing Wright's eyes to widen. I am Ambassador Lyra of the Lumini. We offer friendship and alliance to your fleet. The Shadowkin are a threat to all sentient life. What followed was a flurry of diplomatic and scientific exchanges. The generation ships dwarfed the Star River, their rotating habitats containing entire ecosystems. Gardens, schools, workshops. Humanity had rebuilt itself among the stars, preserving not just lives but culture and knowledge. Sarah proved invaluable, bridging the gap between Earth's past and its spacefaring future. Her expertise in xenobiology, combined with Luna's growing understanding of Lumini technology, led to breakthrough after breakthrough. They discovered ways to merge human and Lumini engineering, creating hybrid systems that were stronger than either alone. But it was more than just technical cooperation. As Luna watched humans and Lumini work together, she saw her mother's dream taking shape. Different species learning from each other, helping each other, becoming something greater than they could be alone. Your mother would be proud, Marcus said one evening, finding Luna in her favorite spot in the observation dome. Not just of what you've done, but of who you're becoming. Luna smiled, watching the massive generation ships cruise alongside them, their lights twinkling like earthbound constellations. Do you think we'll ever go back to Earth? Someday, Marcus nodded. But first, we need to make sure it's safe. The Shadowkin are still out there, and they're not the only threat in this big universe. As if to emphasize his point, the ship's sensors detected an anomaly, a massive gravitational disturbance unlike anything they'd encountered before. The Exodus Fleet's scientists were baffled, but Luna noticed something familiar in the readings. It's like what happened to Dr. Chen's ship, she realized, comparing the data on her tablet, but much, much bigger. Lyra's fins stretched wide in alarm as she studied the readings. She's right. Whatever sent that research vessel off course, I think we found its source. the holographic displays filled with swirling patterns of dark energy, forming a shape that defied human and Lumini understanding alike. It wasn't a ship or a natural phenomenon. It was something else entirely, something that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once. Look, Luna pointed to a pattern in the chaos. Those energy signatures, they're like the neural patterns the shadow can feed on, but evolved different. Sarah leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. Could it be, are we looking at their point of origin, where the shadowkin came from? Administrator Wright's voice crackled over the comm. Whatever it is, it's changing course, heading toward the fleet. We need to make a decision, run, or stand and fight. Luna looked at her father, seeing the same determination in his eyes that she felt in her heart. The lighthouse keeper's daughter and the last guardian of Earth's shores, they had come too far to run now. We fight, Luna declared, her fingers already flying over her tablet as new ideas formed. But not alone, humans, Lumini, together. And this time, we're not just defending ourselves, we're taking the light to them. As the combined fleet prepared for their greatest challenge yet, Luna thought of her mother's favorite saying, "A lighthouse doesn't just warn of danger, it guides the way to safety." Now, among the stars, humanity had found new friends, new purpose, and perhaps the key to ensuring that light would always triumph over darkness. The only question was, would their combined strength be enough for what lay ahead? The heart of darkness. The combined fleet of human generation ships and Lumini vessels hung in space like a constellation of hope against the encroaching void. Luna sat in the Star Weaver's newly established war room, surrounded by holographic displays showing the mysterious dimensional anomaly that loomed before them. Scientists from both species worked feverishly, their voices a mix of human languages and musical Lumini tones. The structure appears to be some kind of interdimensional nexus, Dr. Sarah Chen explained, manipulating a 3D model of the phenomenon. Think of it as a bridge between our reality and somewhere else. The Shadow Realm, Luna whispered, remembering the stories Lyra had told her about the Shadowkin's origins. That's where they came from, isn't they? Ambassador Lyra's skin pulsed with dark colors of confirmation. We always wondered how they evolved from our kind. Now we know they didn't. They were transformed by whatever lies on the other side of that portal. Marcus studied the tactical displays with the lighthouse keeper's practiced eye for danger. Those energy patterns, they're like waves of consciousness. Precisely, Sarah nodded enthusiastically. It's as if the entire structure is alive, feeding on thought itself. The Shadowkin aren't just hunters, they're its envoys, gathering neural energy to sustain it. Luna's fingers flew across her tablet, correlating data from multiple sources. Look at this. When we destroyed those Shadowkin ships, their energy didn't just dissipate. It was pulled back here, back to the source. Administrator Wright's hologram flickered to life in their midst. Then we're not just fighting foot soldiers, we're facing the queen bee in the hive. More like the heart of darkness itself, Lyra corrected grimly. And it's growing stronger. Each consciousness the shadow can consume adds to its power. If we don't stop it now, it'll consume everything. Luna finished. Earth, the fleet, the entire galaxy. But I think I have an idea. All eyes turned to the young girl as she projected her tablet's display onto the main holographic system. We know the entity feeds on neural energy, right? And we know from our battles with the Shadowkin that overloading them with too much consciousness at once can destroy them. So what if we gave this thing the biggest feast of its life? Sarah's eyes widened as she understood. The generation ship's quantum computers, they're modeled on human brain patterns, and the Lumini crystalline technology operates on similar principles. Lyra continued, her fins rippling with excitement. If we combined them, we could create a massive burst of artificial consciousness. Marcus finished. Like what we did at the lighthouse, but on an exponentially larger scale. Luna nodded eagerly. Exactly. But here's the real key. We make it more than just raw neural energy. We fill it with everything that makes us who we are. Human creativity, Lumini wisdom, our hopes, our dreams, our capacity for love and change. Light against darkness, Administrator Wright mused. But the power requirements would be enormous. We'd have to divert every bit of energy from the fleet and the Lumini ships. Leaving us defenseless if it doesn't work, Marcus pointed out. Luna stood, her voice firm with conviction. Mom used to say that sometimes the greatest courage is being willing to help others even when you're scared. We can't run from this. If we do, everything and everyone we love will eventually fall to the darkness. The next hours were a blur of activity as both fleets prepared for their greatest gamble. The Generation ship's massive quantum computers were linked to Lumini crystalline arrays in a network of unprecedented complexity. Every available power source was connected to the impromptu weapon they were creating. Luna worked alongside Sarah and the Lumini engineers, her young mind offering insights that bridged the gap between human and alien perspectives. They weren't just building a weapon, they were creating a symphony of consciousness, a testament to everything both species had achieved together. As the final preparations were made, Marcus found Luna in their favorite spot in the observation dome. Together, they watched the swirling darkness of the dimensional nexus, its very presence seeming to dim the stars around it. "Are you scared?" Marcus asked softly. Luna nodded, a little. "But Mom always said being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means doing what's right anyway." Marcus hugged her tightly. "She'd be so proud of you, sweetheart. We all are." The attack came without warning. Shadowkin ships burst from the Nexus by the hundreds, their dark forms blotting out the stars. But the combined fleet was ready. As the shadow vessels approached, drawn by the tempting feast of consciousness waiting for them, Luna gave the signal. The burst began as a ripple of light from the Star Waver, then grew as each ship in the fleet added its power to the wave. Human quantum processors and Lumini crystals sang in harmony, creating a tide of pure consciousness that carried within it the best of both species: human determination, Lumini grace, shared hopes, shared dreams, shared light. The wave struck the Shadowkin fleet head-on. For a moment, the dark ships seemed to absorb it, growing larger, stronger. But Luna had anticipated this. "Now," she shouted, "full power." Every reactor, every crystal, every power source in the fleet poured its energy into the wave. The artificial consciousness swelled to impossible levels, carrying with it not just raw neural power, but the very essence of what it meant to be alive, to think, to feel, to love. The Shadowkin ships began to break apart, their shadowy forms unable to contain the overwhelming flood of light and life. But more importantly, the wave struck the dimensional nexus itself. The massive structure writhed, its dark energy patterns disrupted by the influx of pure consciousness. "Something's happening," Sarah shouted over the comm. "The nexus, it's changing." Indeed, where once there had been only darkness, points of light began to appear. The structure's very nature was being transformed, darkness giving way to luminescence, death replaced by life. The Shadowkin, Lyra breathed in wonder. There, returning to the light. Luna watched in awe as the dark ships that hadn't been destroyed began to change, their shadowy forms becoming translucent, then brilliantly radiant. The dimensional nexus itself was transforming, becoming a bridge not to darkness, but to new realms of possibility. As the light faded and emergency power came back online, the combined fleet found itself facing not an enemy, but a new beginning. The transformed Shadowkin ships approached cautiously, their crews no longer creatures of darkness, but beings of light, restored to something like their original Lumini nature. "We did it," Luna whispered, tears streaming down her face. "We didn't just destroy the darkness, we transformed it, just like Mom always said we could." Marcus held his daughter close as they watched the transformed ships join their fleet. Humanity and Lumini had faced the heart of darkness together and emerged stronger, not just surviving but transforming their enemy into something new and wonderful. Administrator Wright's voice crackled over the comm, heavy with emotion. Today marks a new chapter in the history of both our species. Together, we've proven that the light of consciousness, of cooperation and hope, can overcome any darkness. As the combined fleet began preparations for their next journey, some to Earth to begin its healing, others to explore the transformed nexus and the wonders it might lead to, Luna thought about the lighthouse where their adventure had begun. Its light had guided ships to safety in the darkness, just as the light of human and Lumini cooperation had guided them all to this moment of triumph. The heart of darkness had been transformed into a beacon of hope, and the best was yet to come.